when they was able to write books and be able to read, even before they were able to write books and read, they also had their grandparents and whatnot. So if they had any information that they were indigenous to America, they would have put it in a book and said, "Oh, we've been here
Not a
before."
book necessarily because of literacy and stuff issues. And I'm not saying, it was mandated we couldn't write and read, right?
Okay, so my question is, right? When were we able to write and read?
I don't know when that law
Before
became.
slavery, long
Huh?
before slavery, long before slavery.
Long before slavery. So I'm saying though, if they're just say if I'm in my 20s, right? And I just started learning how to write and read. My grandparents, right, would have passed that down to my father in the 1700, whatever the case, 1800, whatever the case may be.
Well,
That's saying that we were here.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
I'm with you.
Because
So we got brothers who say that that's the case, and we don't accept their oral tradition. We discredit it as my grandmama said as. We be like, oh, don't tell me what your granny said. You haven't heard that on YouTube rhetoric?
Yes,
yeah, that's
yes.
what I'm saying. I'm saying if those same people existed in the 1718. So my grandparents say that, but why those grandchildren never wrote when they was able to write and read about what their grandparents say that they were here before the slave ships. We don't have no story. We don't have
But you
no
have
story of
to,
that.
but you have to understand something when we're talking about the Olmecs, and he mentioned the guy who discovered the Olmec. The name Olmec was not a name that they gave themselves. He gave them a name, and it was a corrupted version of an ancient word, which meant rubber people. And from my understanding, there are no physical remains. It's mostly archaeological. Archaeological. So they found artifacts, but they haven't found any physical remains to confirm if they were African or not. They're just looking at a little bit of language here and there that they find and the artifact. But there's no conclusive evidence, at least genetically, to say that these are the people, because when they do tests,
all right, let me
people
read
that
some comments
are
real
Eurasian.
quick. If you don't mind, let me read these comments. It says Martin Delaney was looking to repatriate the modern day Nigeria in the 1850s before the US war. Okay. African Science says no university debates this on the planet, only the conscious community. I would like to know what's up, African Science. So those universities that don't debate this, have they came to the conclusion that this is not a fact or that this is a fact? And I just would like to know. The next comment is, why didn't they pass down traditions because they don't have any traditions? I don't understand that. Pan Africans don't even. Oh my God, I don't want to do that type of reading. All right, what's up, Eddie? I mean, because he just made me not want to read the comments. What's up with brother King J? How you doing?
People on them, Smash.
Peace, all is well. Can't complain.
Definitely will. Chilling. Entertaining a different topic today. I see you on something different, so But yeah, for sure. But so yeah, I definitely familiar with the subject title. I would just want to ask a question to the panel real quick, just so we can kind of get all on the same page, because we're using words like African and things like that. What do we subscribe to phenotype? Are we saying that there is a certain phenotype for what we are describing as calling Africans?
Well, phenotype is an actual accepted scientific thing.
Phenotype is.
Phenotype
I mean,
deals with the genetics of how you look. That's what it
well,
means.
they do
It's not
say
the same race.
that. I can pull it up or whatever, but in regards to phenotype being scientific racism. So
no, what they're trying to say, I think, is race does not exist. Race is this whole idea that because I'm a Caucasian, I'm superior, and you're an African, you're inferior. That has nothing to do with phenotype per se. You understand? There is a genetic.
No, I don't understand because the color black is a phenotype.
I see what he's talking. He's talking about if
But it's not race. Not race.
hold on. Do
Don't
Somali?
mess it up,
Hold
Eddie.
on, let me
Eddie.
drop on my point because he's saying it's not race. Race is scientific racism because now you're so. If I ask you, if we look at some bones, we can't look at bones and say these are black bones or white bones.
Yes, you can.
That's phenotype. That's what I'm saying. That's phenotype. So now we're saying that these bones, skull type, or size of this, or these particular skull types are going to be synonymous with black people.
No, that happens in anthropology, but they don't use the word black people. They'll say a term like tropical limb proportions. Okay. Sure. And then when you talk about that's just the limbs. But when they reference tropical limb proportions, they typically refer back to people like Nilotic Negroes. That's what they call them, right? And black people along the Nile who had particular in tropical regions who had skinnier legs. If you see the heavyweight champion of the world in UFC, white people be laughing at his legs, not knowing why he the champion. Right? Because he got tropical limb proportions. It ain't got nothing to do. You don't need all that. And so that's. Pardon me?
Sorry.
Oh, yeah. So that's all I'm saying.
It's good explanation, Smash. But I think a lot of times people get confused when we talk about race. Race. If you do it linguistically, what is race? What is race? It's groupings. That's what it is, groupings. And so the European developed this thing and started these classifications. And he started with groupings and he started with himself on top. And then he went through scientifically and tried to support that. And that's why we have this confusion relating to Africa. This is why we have this confusion relating to Africans in Kemet, is because of this. This is what they did. And now this confusion is ongoing. And I don't understand why, except for the fact that psychologically, African Americans in particular, but Africans all around the world, consciousness has been fractured and shattered. And we're trying to get back to clarity on these issues. And so I just wanted to add that. That's all.
Interesting. Yeah, you're just made a fact that I just played a video with a scientist said he looked Negro to me, and then I also showed a paper, the melanin paper, that said they look Negro as expected. So I don't understand, King J. You know.
No, so the phenotype of a Somalian is, if you look at them, when you say they black, like their phenotype to me look like those phenotype in India.
A phenotype ain't just one thing, though.
That's what I'm saying.
Because I could say, well, this is a dark skinned Caucasoid. I can say this is a light skinned Negroid.
No. So I think the way that I kind of hear what you're saying, but that's been addressed in anthropology. And so they said those craniometric terms. See, if you take phenotype, you'll break it down into all different ways that examine different body types, clines, and all the other things in order to just say how this individual is different from that individual.
I'm following you.
With Somalia, you'd have to take into consideration the Arab admixture and all the things that happened in the last, 1,000 years.
No, sir.
So think about where you was at.
Thousand years.
So if it's about a collection of all these different things, and you just point out craniometrics, which they say it ain't. That's just not that don't discredit the whole phenotype thing. They got other aspects they look at, not just skull size and stuff.
Right, but was y'all saying no, that's not, you don't have to take that into consideration when you considering the race or phenotype of a person, the history of the migration history? Wait.
I definitely wouldn't say no. And I even think they updated craniometrics. It was just the old system that they was using was based on some racist stuff. saying that the
Right.
Caucasian had the most beautiful skull, and this is where that Caucasoid and all this other stuff came from. So King J, you be right in that aspect, but that wouldn't make using phenotype ultimately racist. That would just be one faulty pseudoscientific aspect of use of it that's been addressed by scientists.
Well, we used to look at and say, because the Africans that had straight hair or aquiline features, strong straight noses, that they must have had some kind of a mixture with some Europeans or some Arabs. And then that was a while back. But now we scientifically understand that what is it? The admixtures the African grouping has all the elements of all the other groups that we come in contact, we see, right? So when I say that, when you look at the Somalians, and because he has a straight nose, that he must have got mixed up with some Arabs, I said no. That's no. We had straight noses before they were Arabs. That's what I'm saying.
And on top of that, the model Imani, remember the Imani who married Bono? I mean, Sam Bowie or whatever that nigga was, the white boy in the 70s.
Sam Bowie.
No, the not Sam Bowie, but the musician, the white musician. But you know, Imani, the one was in Remember, and on Michael Jackson video when he was playing the
model.
Yeah. She's from Somalia. She said when she was started modeling in the 70s, early 70s, they were trying to make her say, oh, she's not close to Negro looking. She's more close to the white looking. She said, no, this is how we look in our country. We don't look like no European. I mean, European got their look from us. So
but
don't
you still have to take the admixture. You still have to take the admixture.
Let me ask you a question. Okay. Let me ask you a question real quick, King. If even amongst her own people, I think they're distinguished because they're tall. Like all phenotypes in Africa aren't, you have the short, the pygmies, the Twa people, but in particular, her women, like Manute Bol. Is it like his tribe?
that's the wrong place. You're in the wrong location. Somalis are not. Yeah, Somalia is not tall. You talking about Sudan? Somalia.
I'm talking about African phenotypes, because my point that I'm trying to make is all phenotypes are African, because we can look at Chinese people and say, oh, those funny eyes.
Okay,
those are Chinese.
That's a good point to make, because Africa has the most diversity.
Right, I agree with you.
So then, just go past that, and now what that point lead to? Because I want to get to your ultimate, so all phenotypes are African. Hello?
You still have to find an example of that in earlier populations that were there before those invasions. That's all I'm saying.
So I'm following King J's logic to what we was previously talking about, the Olmecs, he's saying, are you saying because that matches an African phenotype that it don't mean that it's African?
So at some point they all become different haplogroups, right? After
well, I don't want to say haplogroups. Maybe haplogroups expressing themselves show us different clines or whatever in people to where we can phenotypically address that. But I don't know if you're going to say, a phenotype is just something that's an analysis. You know what I'm saying? A haplogroup is something in genetics. An analysis of all that material with other anthropological material, you can make a phenotype.
Because once these different, once they are going into different environments, experiencing different climates and things like that, and staying for so long, then they become something distinguished amongst,
Yeah, we adapt to the environment. Yeah. But sometimes we, as lay people, we're trying to process all of the scientific stuff and the sociological stuff. But for me, I try to think in terms of the continent as the parents, because and out of the parents you have a family, and within the family you can have a kid that's short, you can have a kid that's tall, light skinned, dark skinned. So when I look at Africa, I just ask myself this question: Where are the tallest people in the world found? They're found on the continent. Where's
the shortest?
Where the
Shortest place to
shortest
find
people? They're found on the continent.
Exactly.
Where are the lightest skinned people found? They're found on the continent. Where are the dark? On the continent. So when I look at it that way, then I can be centered in my when I'm trying to process information, new information, and get an understanding and get clarity. And because I'm trying to fight this racist ideology that I've been educated in and I'm surrounded by, and that affects everything that comes into my consciousness.
So let me ask y'all a question though, because how long did, if somebody know, how long did Europeans? Because we know everything started out as an out of Africa migration. So how long did those who we know as Europeans have to stay in Europe to become Europeans?
Right.
About 10,000 years, right?
It's at least 3,000 to 4,000 years.
One at a time, please.
10,000 years.
10,000.
I would say 3 to 4.
So 10,000 years.
We just guessing though. There's not.
Oh, y'all just guessing.
I'm not guessing.
Well, we know the light skin, not 10,000 years. What 8,500 is right?
It was the last ice age. They got trapped. The Africans went up into Europe before the last ice age. And those are the people.
Just people.
Because they're the earliest.
The population affiliated with that person. Was there?
Got a question, Jack.
Denisovan and Neanderthals out there.
Jack,
Yeah, I'm saying,
how
how
she could have turned Asian over here, then she turned back black in the Americas.
Well, modern human goes back up 200, 300,000 years now.
No, but you hear what this question was? How did they turn Asian?
And other Brazilian anthropologists theorized that Luzia's Paleo-Indian predecessors lived in Southeast Asia for tens of thousands of years after migrating from Africa, and then began arriving in the New World as early as 15,000 years ago.
There it is.
And so they're trying to say that they descend from her.
Okay. Oh, thank you.
So they're killing it. They kill the whole Apple argument, doesn't it?
No, that is their argument.
How does this kill their argument?
Because those people were not. Oh, you saying because they're saying they're not Africans? They're
no,
not.
I'm saying just interpret it the way you heard it. How did you hear it?
Okay, that these people were not Africans when they came over there. They weren't Africans when they got to the shores of South America. They had already been in Asia, or maybe they weren't still Africans physically, phenotypically in Asia. Is that what they're saying?
Oh, but here's the thing, though. At 15,000 years, everybody's still black. Tell me I'm wrong.
I don't know. That's my question. I don't
know. We hadn't had that one super skin mutation that allowed for light skin at about 85. James, where you at? What time?
I'm right here. I'm listening.
I'm
just chilling.
That one mutation that allowed for that super light skin even kick in yet. So I'm not saying
according to science, they say that hadn't happened at this particular time period. And see, the same thing that we have to look at, like they say that Europe was a dark-skinned people until the Yamna culture comes in and totally genetically replaces them at 4,900, 4,800 BCE. So it's quite possible that these people are of the dark skin.
So y'all saying that basically everybody was black.
But let's just say that I don't know if we could really genetically say that they're just African people.
All right, well, let me just deal with what they said, and we got to decode this. You got to take tens of thousands of years and add it on to 15,000 years and tell me that they was not black and Asian. Because he said Neves and other Brazilian anthropologists theorized that Luzia's Paleo-Indian predecessors, the people before her, lived in Southeast Asia for tens of thousands of years after migrating from Africa. So they Africa, then tens of thousands of years happened, and then she finally arrived 15,000 years ago. So that's going to take us back to like 40,000, am I wrong? Or at least it's gonna put another 10,000 years on top of that. But because how could they have lived in Southeast Asia for tens of thousands of years after migrating from Africa and
that's
then
taking you
began
back.
arriving in the New World?
Yeah, that's taking you back about 30,000.
Farther than that.
40, 30, 40. Because
Nah.
you can't go back too far past like these other hominids that's still out there. You know what I'm saying? Because they start talking about the introgression at what 50, 60. So I don't know who could have been out there.
And big on the question, Jack.
Denisovan and Neanderthal is out there.
Jack,
yeah, I'm saying,
how
they
she
trying to say
could have turned Asian over here, then she turned back black in the Americas.
Well, modern human goes back up 200, 300,000 years now.
No, but you hear what this question was? How did they turn Asian when they were in Southeast Asia, physically, phenotypically, but then they got to South America and then they turned Negro again, Negroid, or whatever.
Asia for 20,000 plus, right? 20,000 plus, and then they also probably mixed with Denisovan and possibly some Neanderthal, and stayed in that area for that long. They're going to genetically mutate.
Right. So then how, when they got to South America, did they become Negroid again?
You just hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, y'all on the same. Y'all ain't arguing.
Yeah, see, that's the $1 million question.
Well,
right?
Basically, they was all Negroid all through Southeast Asia, basically.
Because it has Negroid phenotype.
Well, you know about the Negritos, and they told us they was talking about the those. They said what they called the mulat. They had the people that they was talking about.
Are you talking about the people in South?
When we were watching the video, oh, here it is. This name of the Malaysians. So these are the melanated Asians, and he said, "This is the group.
No,
look, they say it right here: Indigenous Australians, Malaysians, and Negritos of South Asia."
Them niggas is Denisovan mixed people, though. That's what I'm saying.
Okay,
so
you saying that she mixed with a Denisovan before she came out here?
Yeah, I can't speak to that.
Yeah, tall guy, he on point with that. All of those people are genetic.
How you coming to that conclusion?
Because all people in those regions have a high genetic introgression with Denisovans. Like they like at the 7%, man.
So in them 40,000 years while they was chilling in Southeast Asia, they met some Denisovans.
Yeah, basically is what they saying.
And they might be the Denisovans.
Well, they're mixed.
It's definitely something strange. Well, I came on because I wanted to share something. I wanted to make sure that we get straight on linguistic evolution and these words that seem like we got confused on, which all mean the same thing.
All right, I'm gonna let you host.
When they start to talk about Negro,
James hosted the show. James, you hosted. I want to say thanks to the people for the contributions.
That's not reparations. They had their land taken away from them.
They
had all property.
They got there.
Yeah, that's not what we're talking about. Of reparation for slavery and the injustices of slavery and forced labor and all of that. That's a totally different. That's a land property rights issue.
But it happened during slavery.
Africans were property, brother. We were property, brother.
No, the California case. Those people previously owned that land. We didn't own shit in America.
Yeah. All right, let's start talking about some stuff like that to keep it popping and keep the show moving. So you said the African Americans in California who got reparations, they had some land taken from them, right?
Yes.
Do y'all know what case y'all citing for the people listening, and me included? Because I don't know about this case.
It's either Redondo Beach or Manhattan Beach, California. Let's look it up.
So
yes.
Through a civil suit.
I think I heard about that.
Through a civil suit.
Yes.
So they sued and they got compensated for something that was wrongfully taken from them.
18.
That's not reparations.
That's not reparations.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Oh my God.
What you mean? Yes, it is. So let me real quick, Joey. I like you to. I can hear what you said. Yes, it is. But that's the form of reparation that our civil justice system allows for any wrong done to you that don't got nothing to do with race or nothing. Like if somebody wrecked your car, you can go sue them for. If you want to call that reparations to get your car fixed, then fine. But that's not traditionally what we've been calling reparations.
The land was.
Let me read this. Man. Let me read this, Smash. I just put this in chat GP, African-American family that received reparations. There are many multiple examples of African-American families receiving reparations, including land grants. 1865. In 1865, Union General William T. Sherman signed Special Field Order 15, which promised to give 40 acres and all this stuff. Black families in Georgia, South Carolina, and Florida. However, President Andrew Johnson reversed the order, and after Lincoln's assassination, and the land was returned to the former slave owners.
So that's a no.
We all know that, right?
It continues. Cash payments. In 1988, the federal government issued $20,000 cash payments to eligible Japanese. Well, that's talking about
Japanese,
In return, a black family in America received land that was taken from them after 98 years.
We're not going nowhere.
98
years. We're not going nowhere.
ChatGPT ain't told you nothing, bro.
White people ain't giving up
This
as
is
a
what's
whole.
going on.
They're not giving up.
What was the brother's name from South Africa that was on the show last? The brother, what was
like
his
Belly or something?
Belly, yeah. When Belly was on, everything that he was saying it seemed like we have a continental disconnect on what we really need to be doing. We have a continent with all of the resources. And the only thing, just like Dr. Clarkton already, I don't understand. The elders and the ancestors already done mapped this out for us. It's like we scared to implement what they already said we need to do.
We're going to wait for somebody else to come.
This is crazy to me.
It's a lack of respect, James. It's
crazy.
It's a lack of respect for your own elders. Malcolm told us. He was talking about if the African come over and dress in their African garb, go downtown, and they get a certain type of treatment from the white man. Why? Because he was an African, they identified him as such. But us as former enslaved people, they didn't recognize us like that. And it was partly due because of our behavior, which was partly due to the fact that we had been so disconnected from our own culture and ways of being. Yes, the information, that's what Marcus Garvey was telling us. And today, even today, when we talk about Pan-Africanism, they call it, they act like it's a bad word in the Black community. And too many Black people say they don't want to have nothing to do with that Black stuff. But until we identify as Africans and operate as Africans here and work with our brothers abroad with the stuff they're going through, we're going to keep staying in this conundrum.
Mm-hmm.
But weren't you just beating the drums, respectfully, Brother Flag? Weren't you just beating the drums for reparations, for the reparations movement?
Absolutely, absolutely. But I'm not looking for it to come. I'm not looking for it to come. But that don't mean
so you just want to spend energy on it, even though you know it's not going to come. You're going to keep spending energy on it.
Wait, that's not this one. I said, if it comes to me, it'd be a surprise. Just like Obama getting elected was a surprise to me. Okay,
good,
but it did some good for our community in general.
No, it didn't. What good did it do for our community to have Obama elected president?
Oh, the Obama conversation. Here we go.
Hell no.
No, let's not do that, the Obama debate. That's just going to throw the show off.
I was just using that as an example of something that benefited our community.
Stop it. Stop it. This man undermined the whole.
But now continue against that point is going to make it a new debate.
We're not.
All right, hold on, check. I got one more case.
Go ahead.
All right, this is ChatGPT.
Hold on, bro. So now you the offensive ChatGPT.
No, not ChatGPT. This is Wiki. This is your Wiki.
Okay, this is my Wiki.
He switched it up on the
stage. Man, reparations for slavery. All right. It says, and it looks like it's only one case. The first report.
About it? One case.
Why did you bring it up?
Because if one case could happen, I guess it could happen again.
I guess.
Man,
all right, go ahead, bro. Let's hear it.
First report case of reparations for slavery in the United States was the former slave Belinda Royal in 1783 in the form of a pension.
All right, now don't you know that white people got reparations after the Civil War for the Black people that got let free? That was their slaves.
Man, there's been so many reparations given to other people. It's ridiculous.
I know that's
Well,
why we need to go on quit talking
The
about
civil
what these
rights
folks
bill-
see what I'm saying? Once you got
civil
people that
rights
already
bill-
showed you that they not finna do nothing for you,
Yeah,
why
man,
do you
let's stop
continue
that
to just be
Well,
acting like
yeah,
it's
for
almost
real.
like you just we
God,
like scared or something?
We
Wait
could
a
have thought of some new drone technology before.
Right, we what I'm on, man. Let's
Golly.
get to the business.
We
Like
could
what
have
we need to
repaired.
do
We
to
could
get
have.
on top.
We could repair the whole.